Talk about your health. Now, apparently, I'm told one of the things and big mistakes that we make is how you start your day. What meals do you have? So today, we'd like to concentrate on that. And I'll start, first of all, by ensuring that my hands are clean, because for you to be healthy, I think one of the things you need to do is to ensure that your hands are clean. As I introduce the guests that we're going to be having that conversation with, we have Dr. Miriam Sidebe. Good to have you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
and she's
me.
From Social Mission Director, Africa. Great. We also have Professor Kimiye, who is from Kenyatta University. Good to have you too.
Good morning.
All right. Now, let me start first of all by just asking, and I've noticed that majority of us, through our bringing, we tend to have a very heavy meal in the evening, and because of time or other logistical issues, breakfast is not given that much of priority. Is that the right way to go?
Well, absolutely not. I think after your body has actually been asleep the whole night, you do need to basically break the fast because your body has been fasting to be able to give you the right energy to start your day right. Breakfast is supposed to give you about 15 to 25% of the right energy intake to start your day, to be able to get the right endurance, the right cognitive stimulation that you need to be able to get what you need out of your day. So breakfast is a very important part of how you need to start your day.
Okay. Now, I'll come to you, Professor, and maybe there's a reason why we have a heavier meal in the evening as opposed to the morning. As much as from a nutritional point of view, you'd say that's not the right way to go. But there are some challenges that we must admit. How do we overcome those challenges? Time, planning?
Well, as much as I appreciate that we don't have time to sit around a nice meal every time of the day, and especially now that people are not usually together, it is still very important that we eat a minimum of 3 meals in a day. And this is so that we can be able to get all the nutrients, all the good things we need to stay healthy. You cannot do that in one meal. It even becomes even more difficult for children who have got small stomachs. They need to eat small meals at intervals. So if you are going to give them only one meal, they are going to miss out on a lot of good things which would make them grow healthy and be able to perform well during the day, and therefore that's why we are having a problem of malnutrition in Kenya.
Now, I'm sure what we're here to talk about is not just breakfast, because I'm sure majority of us do have breakfast. Some may be in form of water, others may just be a cup of tea, but we want to talk about a good breakfast. And there's no point of having a good breakfast in front of us and not eating. So maybe we can start with you telling us, where do we start from?
You know, look, we've done a study that looked at what kids are actually having going to school. And what we found is that 47% of kids were actually going to school with nothing more than a cup of tea.
Right.
So what kind of nutrient can you actually get from just a cup of tea to start your day if you have to go to school for a few hours and be able to perform at your best? So I think if you think about what's actually required for a good breakfast, I will start, for example, with a bowl of uji.
Okay.
I think a bowl of, a bowl of uji, local millet, I think will be absolutely fantastic. So that, yes, maybe we need to open this. I think starting with a good bowl of porridge. I like mine a little bit sweetened, so I will definitely add some sugar. I don't know whether
maybe
you would like, Professor would want some.
And does it matter whether it's white or brown uji?
I think brown uji is always very good. But, you know, I think millet by essence is dark, so brown. I would add about 10 grams of blue band, essential fat, which I think is very important.
What does the blue band do for me in that particular?
Well, you know, it's a very small but vital part of what we consider a good breakfast, for the simple reason that it actually helps to take the intake of nutrients. So, you know, the carbohydrates will help you with the energy. You will have, obviously, the fruits in terms of the vitamins. And you need protein, right? Professor Kimiye is the real nutritionist here. I'm a public health person. I think you need that to repair your tissue, but putting a little bit of essential fat helps you to take the nutrients up in your body.
Okay.
So that's probably why we advise people to have it even in small quantity.
Okay. So there's no problem in sweetening this? Because no. I'd prefer to have mine with a little bit of sugar.
Yes, me too.
So, Professor, majority of us would probably not be able, I mean, this is just part of the beginning of the day. Yes. Maybe one challenge that many would have is the preparation part of it, because in the morning, we are so crammed up with so many activities. The children going to school, others going to work, making a bowl of porridge. How long does that take, and how do I plan towards that?
Well, all it takes really is planning ahead of time. Mm-hmm. If you know you are going to have a very busy morning, you can pre-prepare what you need for breakfast the night before, so that in the morning you are just doing the finishing off. Mm-hmm. And if there's a big rush, like many people would leave the house in a big rush, it would be good if we had utensils or some way of packaging the breakfast so that the child can be able to carry the breakfast with them and eat it later in the day. Yes, that is actually what would be most ideal for most people who are living, let's say, in urban areas where there's very little time to eat breakfast and get to school. Mm-hmm.
So planning, of course, is a major part of having
planning is a major part of it. Mm-hmm. As you prepare the dinner, since we seem to have more time for concentrating on the dinner, we should also have breakfast in mind at that time. What do I plan to give my kids in the morning? Will it be in the form in which they can eat it before they go away, or should it be in a form in which they can pack and carry it with them?
Okay. Coming to you, Miriam, is there anything wrong? Because I've realized majority of us actually have a heavy meal in the evening as opposed to the morning. And one might logically say, in the evening I have more time, I'll sleep, so that energy is still there for me to use in the morning.
I guess the main reason why people have also a heavier meal is also that might be the only time that they're there as a family together.
Right.
You know, husband has been gone the whole day, kids have not been there, so this is the only time that you're there as a family where you can enjoy that. But I think all evidence seems to be pointing out that keeping your energy level and taking your 25% of your intake should be done in the morning of the entire day. So how you spread it out during the rest of the day, I think, is debatable. But I would say do not leave the house without it. Now, Professor Kimi, I'm not sure what it actually means, but myself personally, going to sleep with a very full stomach is not necessarily it's not necessarily a good thing. Mm-hmm. Yes. So,
Professor, what are the implications of going to bed with a full stomach? I've read somewhere that it actually also hampers you from sleeping well.
Exactly.
I don't know if that is truth or it's imagined.
It would have some implication when you are not sleeping well. But my worry most of the time is the children. If you look at our children in Kenya, many of them, more than 50%, are suffering from vitamin deficiency, iron deficiency, and you know those nutrients are very, very important for the growth of the child. For example, vitamin A is very, very important for molding the bones and making the bones grow long. It's very important for the eyes because it makes somebody to see well. And also, vitamin A protects your skin, your eyes, your lining of the intestines, the lining of the breathing system, the lining of the excretory system, even the liver and the heart and all the organs of the body have got this skin on them, epithelial skin layer, and that actually serves as a barrier against the entry of microorganisms which can cause disease. And that is one reason why it's very important for children to have vitamin A. The other mineral that we are worried about is iron. More than, again, 60% of the children in Kenya are suffering from one degree of anemia or another. Now, what happens when you don't have iron is that the body is not able to transport oxygen to the different parts of the body where it's needed so that the body can function properly, be active, and that includes even the brain. That's why a child who is anemic will not perform well, not because they are not good or they are not brilliant children, but just because the brain is not getting enough oxygen to enable them to think real fast, solve problems quickly, be attentive in class. Sometimes they even are irritable because even the nerves don't have the energy, and therefore you might have an unruly child, not because they are a bad child, but they are malnourished. So that is how serious it is for us to be able to give the children the basic nutrients all through the day, so that by the end of the day, they have all the nutrients they require to be healthy, active, and alert. And that's why having 3 meals in a day is very, very important. Breakfast is just equally important as all other meals.
All right, let me come to you, Miriam. We're done with the porridge. What else constitutes a good breakfast or a healthy breakfast?
Yeah, well, I think a cup of tea will actually help you flush out the toxins. So I think having the liquids and the cup of tea would actually help.
Okay.
So I think maybe we can pour ourselves a cup of tea. And I would say fruits, right, Professor? I think the fruits gives you the vitamins that you need to be able to. This is a cup of tea with a little bit of milk, I think always help. This is just the milk, but I will just
I'm sure
look
they
at
have
the
the
tea.
tea
I'm
bags
sure.
somewhere.
And then I think, and I think the fruits.
Matsi will help us.
Making sure that we actually go for fruits that are actually locally available is extremely important. And if you look at where we are in this country, like we said, there's about 10 million people in this country that are suffering from food insecurity. 25% of the children are actually stunted. So we're dealing with real issues of malnutrition, but we're also dealing with issues of overnutrition. So, you know, Nairobi, especially being a cosmopolitan and also a city hub, suffers from both. So we call it the double burden, overnutrition and undernutrition being both an issue. So having a balanced diet is probably the most important, and being able to support locally produced food to make sure that actually that gives us the naturalness and what we exactly try to do. So going back to some of the Blue Band, for example, that we had, whose social mission is to try to make an everyday reality for breakfast.
Sorry, I can see Mercy trying to just bring in the tea bag. We want to make sure that we
flushing out the toxins.
We flush out the toxins, which is the way to go. Thank you.
Exactly, Kericho Gold. We'll flush out the toxins. It's a real issue, nutrition, and it's very complex. And for me, it's absolutely fascinating to listen to Professor Kimia and my fellow nutritionists in public health by nature, but only understanding now how much lifestyle affects what we do, and how we're going to be able to. No, there's no hot water, but
yeah.
And how much our lifestyle is affected by what we eat, and how we're going to be able to do that.
What about those who prefer maybe coffee over tea? Is that still giving you nutritional value?
Well, I think it's the liquid in the morning that actually really matters, right?
Professor.
In terms of
it's
flushing
not
out.
necessarily tea or coffee, because sometimes we say that people should not take too much coffee or tea because it might interfere with the absorption of things like vitamin A. So even giving a cup of tea, not a cup of milk or juice instead, or yogurt or maziwa lala,
That
still serves a good purpose. And then breakfast can constitute anything. We should not assume in the modern setting that only bread makes a good breakfast. Breakfast can be you are boiled into mals, the arrowroot, sweet potatoes,
cassava. Make sure it's not the poison.
Your leftover githeri, it's very, very important. But when you are eating cassava or sweet potatoes and things like arrowroots, all those are starch. So that's why the more reason why you should give, let's say, a cup of milk to go with it, so that you can have the proteins, and then you have a fruit to give the vitamins. The idea is to have a balanced meal during breakfast.
Okay, and that brings me now to the next question, where you find there's some communities who actually have a full meal. I mean, I'm talking about, you have your rice, you have your vegetables, you have your beef or meat or whatever. Is there anything particularly wrong with that? And again, for the times that I've tried it, it gives me a longer time where I don't have to, junk in between. Your comments maybe on that?
That's very good. That's even better. When I was growing up, I'm an old lady now, people used to eat real meals for breakfast, You have the leftover meal. People actually sit to have a meal, because this, I think, was that they were planning their day in mind. They knew that they are not going to be able to eat lunch somewhere. And most times actually we are working within that kind of framework or lifestyle. Children are going to go to school. We're going to give them maybe 1 or 2 shillings to buy a small snack. And grown-ups, you might not even have time to take a break during your lunch hour. So if you actually cushion yourself with a good, well-balanced, heavy breakfast, you will have made up, at least gained some mileage on what you require to be able to be active during the day and stay healthy and meet most of what you require in the way of nutrients for the rest of the day. So there's nothing wrong with eating very heavy breakfast. Some ethnic groups still do, there's some countries people still do that, like the Chinese, they eat their rice.
I think even in Nigeria they have
the Nigerians eat very heavy meal in the morning. So it's something that we had traditionally, but we somehow dropped it somewhere along the line, and we thought, okay, a mandazi and just a slice of bread and tea is what constitutes a breakfast. So yeah,
Miriam, now let's talk about bread, because I can see here, first of all, we've got 2 types of bread. You've got the white and brown. First of all, if there is any significant difference in the 2. And secondly, this in comparison to our traditional arrowroots and sweet potatoes. Is starch just starch?
Starch does starch. I think whole wheat starch is definitely much more nutritious than plain starch. So I think here you'll have the whole wheat one. But I think some of the bread, and not all the breads, but may just use a bit of the colors. So it's not necessarily the real whole wheat that's in there. So what matters is to be able to get obviously the carbohydrates from the bread, but then maybe going back to what is the difference between an arrowroot and maybe what you're getting out of a bread. I'm not sure, Professor Kimie.
Well, arrowroot is more dense in its energy. The energy that's coming out of it is affordable.
Absolutely.
It's easily available, and also arrowroot is a complex carbohydrate, and we are advocating for complex carbohydrates. People are eating refined foods, and these refined foods are being associated with the high incidences of diabetes that are coming up, and therefore we want to develop those good habits of eating food that's right for the body, so that sugar goes into the body system slowly and keeps you energized, but also healthy.
All right, and maybe just your closing comments, Miriam, on basically the importance of having a well-balanced and a good breakfast in the morning.
Well, I think having a good balanced breakfast in the morning gives you the energy that it takes for you to complete your day. I think if you get about 25% of the daily intake right in the morning, you will have a better, longer day. You'll be able to concentrate more. It will give you more strength and endurance. And when you talk about children being able to stay in school and reduce absenteeism because of illnesses that you'll have, I think that's really, really important. And we need to encourage the families that are only giving a cup of tea to be able to balance and to rethink that meal in the morning is the most important for their kids to be able to have for school education, for health, for reduction of illnesses. So for us, that's possibly why we're trying to do this social mission. We've made it our cause to make breakfast an everyday reality for 500 million school children in Africa, which constitutes 1/4 of all the children living in Africa, living in the world, sorry. And that's going to be key for us. And we really want to make sure that we are part of that small alliance with amazing people like Professor Kimie as well.
Thank you very much. Because of time, we'll have to wind it up right there. Thank you very much, Professor Kimie and Miriam Sidibe, for joining us this morning for a wonderful breakfast and for you at home. Well, this is to a good breakfast. And do stay with us right here on Morning Express, not on KTN News. We've got Worldview coming up, and Sophia Wanuna will be giving us a perspective of what's happening in the world. Have a good day.